Hola, bonjour, and welcome to another fantastic episode of Tiki Talka. I'm a disappointed Liverpool fan. That's a happy United fan. And here's a quick preview of what we're talking about today.
Did Ancelotti crack under the pressure of the Brazilian fans?
It's crazy that he was snubbed of a World Cup spot, man.
I don't understand how an old injured Neymar playing for a relegation fighting side can outdo a good performer at the EPL. Make that make sense. He hasn't played at the highest level since his Barcelona days. At this point, an injured João Pedro is better than Neymar.
He is the greatest manager in Premier League history, dude. Stop it with Sir Alex.
With the charges, does that sway your opinion?
Sir Alex is not a conversation of being the greatest manager of all time. That's not happening.
Some are saying it looks like they're going to be charged something. Is that why he's quitting?
I think championship is too lenient. You have to send them to League One. You have to send them down. They cheated for almost 10 years.
Did Liverpool drop the ball with Alonso like they did with Mark Gahey?
I'm looking at you, Toffees. All of you Evertonians. The way you just abandoned Seamus Coleman, who has served you for 17 years. Disgusting. You disgust me, you Toffees.
All right, guys. So as you can see, we're going to be going through a recap of match week 37. So we'll be going over EPL, FA Cup, and some of the things that have happened, because there's actually been a lot of news, especially managerial appointments coming out. A lot to unpack, little time.
Yes.
So why don't we start with the FA Cup? Why don't you kick us off, Joey? What did you think about it?
It was a really good game, man. Chelsea really surprised me for a good chunk of that game. But beyond 60, they just had no shot. The City's goals are inevitable, and Semenyo scoring was textbook City. It was always going to happen, and there's no way Chelsea's ever going to equalize. They have great players, dude. They had an interim manager, someone who's never managed before.
Yeah, the cards were stacked up against him. I don't think anybody had him favored, especially when Cucurella was holding on for dear life to Semenyo, trying not to get a card. He eventually got a card, and then he had to play careful the rest of the game.
Yep.
That's kind of what you get.
Yeah, exactly. Right? They're too good. You could say maybe he's probably one of the best left backs in the world currently, but yeah, he had his hands full, man, and he had no support. Chelsea, they're not good. They're just not well coached, and we'll see what happens when their new manager comes in.
I think they have a good baseline. A lot of solid young players they can loan out, develop, or bring them into the club. But I think they need to mix some senior leaders in there, man. I know it's not the model. It hasn't been so far, but they're missing something. And maybe it was the managers just because he's an interim going up against one of the best managers ever. He sat back a lot. They had 3 center backs with the 2 wing backs.
Yeah.
But they hardly got forward, man. I think I could count on one hand how many times they actually burst forward. Most of the game, they were just playing with the back 5, and that kind of just stunted them. You expected João Pedro to do magic by himself up there. And he's a good player, but
it's not that good.
There's no way. There's no way. So, yeah.
And then he got hurt, dude. Then he got hurt.
He did.
Man.
Yeah, I haven't seen anything if it's like a big injury. It doesn't seem like it. I feel like it would come out by now if it was pretty massive.
This guy, he's good. He's very, very good. And it's crazy that he was snubbed of a World Cup spot, man. Neymar's Neymar, but he's 30-something in the Brazil league versus this up-and-coming 20-something-year-old Premier League proven. Like, this guy's good. He's played well at Brighton. He's come here. He's played just as well. He's scoring for fun. You bring Neymar over him? It's almost like they waited, like Ancelotti waited for someone on the forward line to have some random injury. Like, oh, there it is. Neymar's in. What do you think?
I think the same thing. I'm glad you brought it up. When I saw that, my mouth dropped. Now, I'm not sitting here saying that João Pedro is God's gift to earth. By no means. But what a breakout season for Chelsea, especially when he started off in the Club World Cup, making a name for himself. You could see he did not crumble under the pressure of being at Chelsea. He might be their player of the season. He's one of their best ones this season. To see him get snubbed was sad. And yes, you look at some of the people that are up there. You have Cunha, Igor Thiago, who have also had good seasons in the Prem. But I think he should have gone. And to use possibly that injury as a reason to sneak Neymar in there at the last second, it kind of makes me think, did Ancelotti crack under the pressure of the Brazilian fans? Because he hasn't been in any camps. He was recently injured. They're fighting relegation every year where he's at over at Santos. So I don't understand how an old injured Neymar playing for a relegation fighting side can outdo a good performer at the EPL. Make that make sense.
I feel like we're kind of at this weird stage of football where we're still holding on to these great names because no one's really lived up to the fullest potential. You know what I mean? If football is just holding on to names of the past, that's why you see Ronaldo, Messi in every single post, and now Neymar, who realistically has not been relevant since he left PSG. He hasn't.
How many years ago was that? Because he played in Saudi for what, a year and a half, 2 years, and he's been in Brazil for a couple of years.
Mhm.
So he hasn't played at the highest level. And you could argue at the time he was in French football, Ligue 1 was not at the highest level. So he hasn't played at the highest level since the Barcelona days. Ancelotti is one of the GOAT managers. He's up there, top 3 for me of all time. So it's hard for me to believe that he cracked under the pressure. But at the same time, I don't see any other way. How is it not?
Well, let me ask you this. Do you think maybe he wants to use him as a veteran rotation role?
He's not a leader. Just by bringing him, now you're giving yourself the trouble of starting him, of giving him minutes,
No,
of playing
no,
him.
come on, it's
Yes,
Ancelotti.
because think about it, it's the Brazilian Federation, possibly. Ancelotti just signed a new deal till what, 2030. So he's gonna do the next World Cup as well. So he has another shot without Neymar. He's gonna be too old. He'll be like, all right, cool. But this is basically the last dance for Neymar. So I could totally see Brazilian fans and Brazilian Federation saying, look, give him one more shot. You may play him, you may not play him. But think about this is the last chance that he could make a World Cup team, and we need to sell tickets. We need to get these stadiums back. We
Sub
have to have
jerseys.
the name Neymar in there. I could
Yeah.
totally see that being possible, and maybe that's why he did it. Maybe they didn't give him an option. But
I
this
just
is wild to me, dude.
no, man, I just
He
you
didn't
can't start Neymar. I don't care. I think Ancelotti has too big of a name. He's probably has way too much sway within the federation for him to bow to anyone saying you have to play Neymar. Like, no, you don't tell me who to play.
or they had told him to take him.
Take him maybe. No, they were riding him forever and ever saying, "Hey, Neymar, 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 Neymar." He's like, "No, he's washed up." And then boom, João Pedro gets injured and he's like, "All right, now I have to look at my options and realistically, I guess I have to take Neymar now because if I don't, then the federation starts to really flip out and you lose whatever power you may have."
I think at this point, an injured João Pedro is better than Neymar. And think about it. João Pedro works his ass off. The World Cup doesn't start for what, another 3.5 weeks, something like that? Plus, you probably don't even need to play him in the first group stage. So it'll be what, 5 weeks by then, maybe longer? He would have been back no problem. So I'm stuck on this, and I'm quite surprised. Like I said, my jaw dropped, and I'm kind of disappointed. And again, I'm not a Neymar hater, but I want the best players to be there, and I don't think he earned it by merit.
No, not by merit at all. Again, we're holding on to the names of the past, dude. That's just kind of where we're at. Suarez is still a talked about name, dude. I love Luis Suarez,
Oh
but
yeah, he's not gone.
it's
He can barely move.
2026. What are
Yeah,
we doing talking about Luis Suarez?
football has to move on. And
Yeah.
the funny thing is, I think ESPN interviewed João Pedro, and they said, "What legendary player do you want to play with at the World Cup?" And he said Neymar. And it's funny because basically
He
that's
gets
who
dropped
he
for
got
Neymar.
dropped for. Yeah, he got dropped for Neymar, and I'm like, ouch.
Damn. That
Yeah,
sucks.
it's horrible.
Be your closest friends, dude. And really be the ones that love you. Terrible.
Absolutely. Why don't we bring up the other managerial appointment of a team that we talked about already in Chelsea? I know we were kind of avoiding it and dancing around it. This took me by complete surprise, and I'm sure by the time people listen to this, they're already going to know. But for those that don't know, Xavi Alonso accepted the Chelsea job. This is a very interesting one. They don't have him as a coach. They hired him in the details as a manager, and this is Blueco's first signing of a manager. All the other ones have been head coaches. So it's interesting. Maybe they're giving up on their project of signing all young players, and maybe they're realizing that they need to bring in some heavy hitters or a manager that can carry some weight, and managers that carry that kind of weight are not going to be a head coach. So talk to me.
For Xavi, it's smart, right? It's been directly said that he's waiting for Liverpool. That's who he wants to go to. He's going to go to Liverpool. If they call him, he's doing it. He's waiting and waiting and waiting. Now we're here, and Liverpool said, nope, well, we're going to have an end of season review and then go into next season with the new expectations. So that's like a middle finger to Xavi, right? And if I'm Xavi, I'm going to look at all the available projects that may exist in the Premier League. So he's really the best one. If I go in as a manager and say, look, I'm not going to just do whatever you say, give me these players. You're going to play this guy, this guy, this guy, and I'm going to figure it out. No, I'm going to manage this team. People have to be sold and older players can be brought in. this is my squad. And it's full of young players. That's what he thrived on Leverkusen. Right? Unfortunately, I think it's a good fit. But here's the issue. When you're recruiting, when you need to start building this project and you're Chelsea who has spent a lot of money and you now have no European football, it's going to be a tough climb for a second. I think maybe next season they get Champions League spot, Europa League for sure. Next year is going to be a little bit rough at the start, I think, no matter what. I don't care how good Xavi is. You have a World Cup plus a shortened preseason because of it.
I feel divided about this appointment. You actually brought it up on the pod, I think it was less than a month ago. And you did say, oh, he's linked to Chelsea. And I was like, what? No way. There's no way. For sure he'll wait for Liverpool. So to see this happen now, like, dude, I was so wrong. I'm shocked. This is a good appointment in a couple ways. He's played at a back three. I think Chelsea have the team to play with a back three. And they can use wing backs, just like he did at Leverkusen. But he's also fluid. He can play back four. So I think it would work out either way. What is interesting is also is that Chelsea was the only EPL team to ever play a back three and take the title. So that's also interesting. They're open to it as a club. Man United thought they were, not so much. Looking at why this might be a bad signing is Chelsea's a a basket case, and that's putting it lightly. There's so many problems going on. They have a lot of players tied down to 8, 10-year contracts, sure at a lower wage, but you have a lot of baggage that you're carrying around. On top of the fact you couple that with Cucurella and Enzo's statements this past couple months, what are you going to do?
But you don't think that changes now that Xavi comes in?
It possibly can. However, if Real Madrid come calling for Enzo, he ain't sticking around. Even if Xavi, like, no offense, Xavi's won with Leverkusen.
Yeah,
Whoop-de-doo.
yeah.
You know?
It's still Madrid.
In his eyes, he didn't do diddly squat at the highest level at Real Madrid. You don't say no to Real Madrid. I don't think Real Madrid will come calling for other reasons. We'll go over that, I'm sure, in a video in the future. But yeah, it's gonna be tough, man. Hang on some of the best players and convince them of the project. Keep the good ones that you have and bring in the new ones, like you said, without Champions League.
I think a lot of young players stay just because it's Xavi Alonso, dude. You got to believe in him. You saw what he did for Words for calling him. Tog at the move to Munich. He made their striker look amazing, world class, Boniface. So yes, Cucurella and Enzo have said what they said this season, right? But this is different, dude. This changes things for people. This is not a new head coach. Like you said, this is a manager. He's a manager of the club now.
All right, let me ask you this. Did Liverpool drop the ball with Alonso like they did with Marguehi?
Yeah, for as much good as they've done, now that they have full control of the club, we have two nerds who are totally convinced of their formula and their process that they forget that the way football has been operated for, let's say, 150 years, it's really weird that they're trying to totally reinvent the wheel and trying to change what has worked for this team and for the club.
But how would they get it so wrong? Because I feel like with the sale of Coutinho and the rebuilding of the team when Edwards was there early on with Klopp, they did well. So was it Klopp really the mastermind? Was it a balance between the two? Not give a checks and balance to not give one side more power than the other?
Klopp is up there with Pep and managers like that where they run the club. This is their club. Man. It's easy when you have a manager like that. The reason why Liverpool looks so great is because you have someone like Klopp who really gets the best out of everybody, and he maximizes not only the players on the pitch, but people in the back. And that's what made Edwards look so great. That's what made Wards look so great. And now Klopp is gone, and you just have Edwards, which, hint, hint, we were in this kind of spot when we had Hodgson and Rodgers when it was just Edwards and these guys running the club. And he's just too in his laptop. These guys are too much just crunching the numbers, trying to find the perfect formula to make it all work, where they don't really need to relinquish power, that they still have their hands in everything. And it just doesn't work. Head coach doesn't work. It does not work, man. They are just so convinced that Slot is the right guy because they got it right season 1. You know what I mean? And now, well, season 2 is bad. These guys are tired. They were drunk for the last 5-10 games of the year. So we'll write this one off.
Well, it seems like Edwards and them are getting the right people, like Marguehi, Xabi Alonso. They have the right idea. They're just taking too long to seal the deal. And you look at the best clubs in the world, Madrid, City, they're locking that stuff down like right away. City's like, okay, you guys didn't lock him down. I'm going to go get him.
It's dumb. You don't have to play this waiting game. It's not some kind of business strategy. they're just so convinced they're right, man.
All right. Well, that's enough of that appointment. Why don't we talk about the other one leaving in the blue side of Manchester with Pep Guardiola? Fabrizio Romano has actually put it out there as a departing fact that he's going to be leaving at the end of the season. And there's only one name in mind, and that's Maresca taking over. Do you think that's right? Do you think maybe Xavi should have hinted at the City job?
No, I had that clause in his contract in Leverkusen that if City came, he would want to go there, but City always wanted Maresca, right? Even at Chelsea, it was an open secret that City was going to get Maresca. It was talked about, I think, for the year. That's probably why Maresca and Chelsea had a major falling out. You can't have news like that get leaked because that's not coming from nowhere.
Well, what are your thoughts on Pep leaving, man? This
It's not,
scares some people because people are thinking this is it, he's gonna retire, or he's done with club football, and maybe one day he'll do international football, probably Spain or Brazil or something like that. I don't think it's the end, personally. I think he'll go to a different country. We talked about this before, maybe Italy, Roma, something like that to move to a new league. But him leaving on I think the ninth year, right? Doing it like 1 year shy of 10 years, or not staying as long as Sir Alex Ferguson and cementing him being the greatest in EPL. What are your thoughts on something like that? Where is it too soon? Could he go for longer?
he doesn't have the chance to maybe cement himself as the greatest in the EPL ever. He is the greatest manager in Premier League history, dude. Don't stop it with Sir Alex. Dude,
you
stop
are
it with Sir Alex.
you
Stop.
are belittling the greatest EPL manager of all time.
No, I am not, dude. I'm respecting Pep
13
Guardiola.
titles?
Pep is arguably the greatest manager of all time, dude. So he's better than Sir Alex. Sir Alex is not a conversation of being the greatest manager of all time. That's not happening.
How many Champions Leagues does Pep have? 2?
We're at City?
Everywhere. I think he has 2, Barca and City. Right?
Didn't win any in Munich?
Close, but no. Sir Alex has 3. Yes, he was there for longer and has 26 years alone at United to get him the 13 title. I understand that. If you're going based on ratios alone, yeah, Pep's killing everybody at the EPL. But longevity does come into it. Constant rebuilding of teams comes into it.
Well, that was 4 in a row. 4
And
Premier Leagues in a row. Oh, with the treble in there too. Please, dude. Please.
look, I'm not disagreeing. I'm not discounting Pep. It's between him and Ancelotti for me as far as overall greatest managers of all time. Pep by far is the best tactician. You can make arguments for either side, but I'm saying just in the EPL, just like how, Salah and Ronaldo argument, right? So just in the EPL, it is tough.
Throw that in my face for this, dude.
No.
You won't even hear that argument.
No,
about
because
that.
your argument is to say in the Prem, right? People say, oh, Ronaldo has peak, and you're like, yeah, but longevity comes into it. The longevity also has to come into for the manager's case. Sir Alex has made a bigger impact to some people, and he has done it with longevity and more titles because he's been here longer. Now, if Pep stayed 26 years, would he surpass Alex? Possibly. But the biggest thing that goes against Pep, and which hurts him by leaving, is that he hasn't needed to rebuild a bunch of sides. Like being there 26 years, you have to rebuild it, maybe 8 times, maybe more? So that's the argument that a lot of people have against him.
Aguero, Sane, Sterling, David Silva, Fernandinho, Company, Bruyne. He has rebuilt these teams. He has brought in new younger guys. This is City's first battle year or two. We're actually need to rebuild the squad, right? Because Sir Alex had to do that. You know what I mean? Pep has been so good at just, nope, here's a new guy here. Here's a new guy here. Here's a new guy here. Where it's never looked like he's rebuilding the team because he's always just replenishing. How many times have we complained about City's buying everybody? I loved Calvin Phillips, man. I thought that guy rocked. And then City just bought him so no one else could have him. It's like, what? They do this, dude. And they just do that.
With the charges, that's what your opinion. He's competing in situations where Liverpool, even United, Chelsea, none of them could do it because they would also face the same PSR issues. So they were playing in different playgrounds, so to speak. Does that change your opinion on all the stuff that he won?
It does taint it, right? They could really be stripped of that stuff at the end of the day. But really looking at it, when you look at those City teams, 85% of the time, 90% of the time, it was the same 11. It's the same guys starting week in, week out. There's a good amount of substitution in games, but there's not a whole lot of rotation going on with the starting 11. So yes, money does help with having guys that you can just plug in right away in the 70th minute and you don't really notice it. But you still have to be an amazing manager to have
Of
11 guys
course.
perform at a high level every single week.
But if you were able over at Liverpool to spend the same amount or to break the rules as they supposedly or allegedly have, do you think you could have stuck a couple more titles in there?
Yes,
Okay,
yes,
then that's my point.
easily.
Where you're giving Pep credit, where it's like if you gave Liverpool the same opportunity, Pep wouldn't be 4 in a row or wouldn't have what 6 out of 7 year titles or something like you know what I'm saying? So,
Yeah, but the Premier League is a very competitive league, right? And I
oh yeah,
think Pep Pep was gonna win a treble or do maybe 2 or 3 in a row no matter what the league was, right? When they did 4 in a row, I think they could have realistically only done lost one of those leagues because Arsenal was gonna bottom no matter what, dude. That's always gonna happen. Arsenal was just gonna throw it away. They weren't ready for it yet.
I'm convinced Liverpool would have snuck in one.
Liverpool would have gotten probably 2 more Premier Leagues. We would have been invincible Centurions, and then we would have got another one in 22, 23.
Well, Pep also made a statement. I don't know if you remember. He said, "If I find out that the club was lying to me and they're guilty, I will quit and I will leave." Now, this has not come up at all, but some are saying it looks like they're going to be charged something. Is that why he's quitting? Do you think he kind of has an inkling like, yeah, it looks like they're going to be convicted, which means I don't want to be associated with this. I'm quitting like I said I was going to quit.
I can really see that happening, but let me ask you this. Here's my counter to that. Does that taint his legacy if he does leave and they are charged with something?
Yeah,
I
of
don't
course.
think I don't think they're getting stripped of all their titles. Maybe the ones that they won by a point or so you can take away. They're getting relegated. For sure you have to relegate them.
It's a touchy subject because it's the club's fault. It's not Pep's fault and it's not the
Mhm.
players' fault. They're not involved in any of this. And at the end of the day, like you said, they have to bust their ass, all those players, and win the title. They got to do it every single game, week in, week out, training. So it sucks to strip them of that. It really does. The alternative is what happened here in America with the Astros, right? When they were cheating and none of
It's
the
just a
players,
piece of metal.
yeah, the players didn't get stripped of anything.
Just a piece of metal. Why do you dude? Mm. Manfred, dude. Manfred, that guy, dude.
It's a touchy subject. For the players, I really feel for them. But for the club, yeah, there's got to be some sort of sanction, even if it's not stripping away titles. If it's like, hey, you got to spend the next X amount of years in the championship, that can really devastate the club to the point maybe they will sell one day. I'm not sure, but there's got to be
I mean,
some
no,
sort of punishment.
they have too much money to ever sell the club, but here's my take, dude. I think championship is too lenient. You have to send them to League One, dude. You have to send them down, down, bro. They cheated for almost 10 years. Think about all the titles they've
Yeah,
won, everything that they've won, dominated records that they've had.
that's why I'm saying, Joey. If they went to League One, do you think they wouldn't sell? They might, because it's like, why do this anymore?
Hey, I mean, it's a huge hit, but think about the story. They've had this club for a long time, dude. So now they get sent down to League One. You know they're gonna be like, nope, watch this. We're gonna bounce all the way right back, and then we're gonna come back and we're gonna win the Premier League too.
All right. So basically, we're heading into the last week, dude. I call Arsenal the Inter Milan of the EPL because nobody can beat them and they barely skate by, and it's annoying because they're not great.
Nobody can beat them.
It's so to speak, right?
Wait, who did the double?
Hey, don't worry, but like they just barely scathed by, and it's like, come on, 1-0 against relegation fodder Burnley. Like, really, you guys are
Yeah,
gonna win the
dude, and
title,
like
and that's
when
all
we
you can do.
and what they score? Set piece, yes. Another set piece, and it was just great. And watching that game, it was just like, all right. Burnley looked threatening, dude. They were never gonna really score. They needed a counterattack. And it looked like they might have snuck one in, but yeah. As soon as Arsenal scored, I was like, all right, yep, this game's done. It's over.
So Newcastle beat West Ham 3-1 over the weekend, and that really put a damper in West Ham's hope of staying up. Spurs are going to have to lose the last 2 games for West Ham to even have a chance. But it's totally possible.
It's
I
not
mean,
a real possibility, dude. It's crazy saying Spurs can lose these last 2 games. Man, it's not.
the last game of the season is against Everton, and Everton's been playing decently well this season. It's not the Everton
Yeah,
of the
I
last
have to
couple of
say
years.
this. I'm looking at you, Toffees. All of you Evertonians. The way you just abandon Seamus Coleman, someone who has served you for 17 years. There was like 8 of you guys there at his send-off. His last game for the club. I don't care how bad the team is playing. It doesn't matter. You think it's gonna matter for us? You think that's gonna matter for us next Sunday?
I don't even think they've been that poor, man, for Everton standards of the last couple of years, and they're at 49 points right
They've
now.
been bad. They've been worse, I think.
Dude, they could push for a spot for Europe in the Conference League. They're only 3 points off.
Like, this
I mean, think about it.
that's
Everton almost
bad.
got relegated for like 2, 3 years in a row.
Yes, and, like, who do you guys think you are? You get a shiny new stadium and you think, like, "No, we should be competing for the league and Champions League, and we're just gonna walk away because Sam's been poor." You guys have David Moyes as your manager. You guys haven't had a Carlo Ancelotti in a long time, okay? That you can't ride that high anymore. That was a fever dream for everybody. Disgusting. You disgust me, you toffees.
All right, so next game, United won 3-2 against Forest. Again, they already solidified that third place spot. Not much to play for on United's end there. So I don't want to dive into that, but the one I did want to talk about, Villa, Liverpool. You guys got walloped 4-2. You guys lost your chance of slipping into that fourth place spot, man. It looks like you guys are slipping, yep, just like that, slipping into fifth, going down the table.
Let me come back up real quick. Yeah, dude. Villa scored, and I said, all right, it's going to be that kind of game. And we scored. I said, okay, all right, it's going to be that kind of game. Maybe we're going to have some fun today. And then they scored again. And then they scored again. And then they scored again. And I said, okay, that's enough for me. Thank you very much. I appreciate
Ollie
it.
Watkins played out of his mind, dude.
You don't like Ollie Watkins, dude. I've been saying Ollie Watkins is not that bad.
It's not that I don't like him. I just think he's okay. Over the last few weeks, he's been picking it up. But again, I don't think he could ever play for a top six like club, even though he's technically in the top six right now. But you know what I'm saying? Like he's not
I
that
mean,
great.
at this point, I have Villa in the big six over Spurs, dude. I mean, Villa has a Champions League.
I put that more so down to Emery than I do to Ollie Watkins.
Yeah, for sure. But Watkins played out of his mind, dude. That was really great. It was a fun football match to watch. I'm very glad that I put off work for 90 minutes to watch it and then had to cram it all in angrily. So thank you, Slot. Thank you, Arne. Appreciate you. Thanks, love.
To be fair, Villa plays City next week. So there's a good opportunity that you guys can still slide into that fourth place slot.
Yeah.
There's also a possibility that you guys might be playing Europa League. If Bournemouth pull a result in the last day and you guys lose, there's totally potential for you guys to be playing
A
Europa
lot
League.
of foreign words playing Europa League football for us is pretty crazy. That's Isaac playing European football is pretty crazy. It's Rio playing European football. That's cool.
So what happens if you guys end up playing Europa League football and Edwards does the end of season review and they're like, okay, he's got to go. Now where do you go? Because
That's a good
Alonso's
question.
taken. Alonso's taken.
Now, I've seen whispers on in the internets. There's one guy who hasn't extended his contract at his current club, hasn't, and has said that he's looking for possibly a new challenge. He wants something else to do, and he is Spanish.
Iriola.
No,
Really?
someone bigger than that.
Don't tell me Luis Enrique.
I'm telling you exactly that. Exactly that. Yes.
I haven't heard any of that. It's
Well, you gotta just.
it's a good club to take over, man. It's like I said, it's
I mean,
got to be.
he's already said it. He said it. He's ready to move on. He's done. Like he's won at PSG. PSG can win a treble every season, dude, and no one cares. At a certain point, you want to actually compete. And you see this Liverpool team, and it's good, man. And it's built for his system. Slot's already said he's not a long-term head coach, which is what I love to hear. That's perfect. Awesome. I don't know why you're here in the first place, but cool.
By saying that, is he basically saying my expectation is that I get a
He's
new
gonna be out of here
contract and
soon.
I'm the manager, not the head coach?
I think Enrique's gonna come and say, I'm the manager here.
No, no,
I'm
no.
gonna run things.
But you said Slot was the one that's saying I'm not a long-term head coach, right?
Slot
So
is
was that Slot passive aggressively saying I want to be a manager, not a head coach? You don't think that's
no,
what he meant?
no. I think Slot is hoping and begging because there's rumors are also for him to go to Ajax. I mean, he's hoping Ajax.
No offense to Ajax fans, but why would you leave Liverpool to go to Ajax?
He's Dutch.
Yeah, but what's the Dutch league compared to the EPL?
I mean, it's Ajax. It was the biggest team. It's the biggest team in Holland. You have there.
Yeah, but you can go circle back one day when your career crumbles, you know?
Well, I think his stock is as high as it's gonna be currently, and if he waits any longer for Ajax to maybe potentially offer him a contract, yeah, I don't think they're actually gonna offer him a contract.
Fair enough.
I just wanna say, I didn't know Adam Warhorn could do a flip like that. He scored a pretty solid goal. Got it nice and clean from outside the box. He does a cartwheel into a backflip. This guy is slower than molasses. Where did he pull that out of? And I thought Kelleher should have done better on his goal. I don't think that should have been a goal. I think Koeman definitely blew that.
All right, guys, that's all we have time for today. If you guys like this video, go ahead and leave a like, subscribe, hit that notification bell so that way you don't miss an episode. And then leave your comments. We'd love to hear what you have to say about the season, and particularly next week when we go over the end of season awards. We'll see you guys in the next episode of Tiki Talka.
Later.